Welcome to today's Research Business Daily Report, where we're going to tell you about the fact that return on investment for market research may finally have gained a foothold in the research industry. And it comes from an ROI expert who believes that market researchers may be opening their minds to the metric, and I believe that could mean the dawn of a new era for our industry. RBDR is sponsored today and this week by Q-Oasis, a self-service marketing research solution for market research professionals. The new and the only platform that delivers industrial-strength, easy-to-use, unrestricted survey building blocks for free. And it is powered by 22-year industry expert Socratic Technologies. In July 2011, we at RFL Communications held the first industry examination of return on investment for market research. The conference drew a polite and interested crowd of 50-plus research people. And after 2 days, I concluded that above everything else, well, we had spotlighted a subject that was probably ahead of its time. Return on investment has become an issue inside many companies after the Great Recession. But that was back in 2008, and at that time it was really the marketing department and a handful of other functions inside corporate America that were initially told to prove payback from their spending. The market research function was not one of those, and I could propose a number of reasons why, but that's not what is important today. Two separate return on investment on market research case histories are now in the works through the leadership of the Pharmaceutical Marketing Research Group, and I think it may be setting the stage for an overdue ROI on market research revolution. Guy Powell, president and founder of ProRelevant Marketing Solutions, was asked to lead widely different ROI projects for two pharmaceutical companies. The pharmacos are so far unnamed, but Powell has the all clear to disclose what the projects are about and to say something about what they are concluding. And he shared that with RBDR. Guy, was this the first time that you've actually done a return on investment project with a research department? I mean, your company dates back to 2005, correct?
Yes, it is. Yes, it does, and yes, it is. Normally, we work with the research department to do the ROI of marketing investments, and this is the first time we've actually started to look at what is the actual ROI of the market research function itself, and doing different studies and whatever they happen to do to determine whether those are delivering decisions that actually lead to real value.
And how is it that you and your company were selected to do this?
Yeah, actually, I'm, I guess, pretty well known for ROI in marketing in general. And I got a call one day from the PMRG, the Pharmaceutical Market Research Group, and they were asking for a speaker that could talk on a very prescient topic, which was the ROI of market research for their fall conference in 2015. And so I said, either foolishly or intelligently, I said, yeah, I think I could do that. And after I got into it and after I started thinking about it, I said, man, this is not as easy as I thought. And so, but nevertheless, I had pretty good experience in how to generally determine what the ROI of anything is and whether something is profitable or not. And realized that you could do the same thing for the ROI of market research. Now, one of the things that's interesting with market research is market research delivers insight to make a decision, a business decision, either a go, no go, or invest more here or invest more there. And so what we're trying to do is determine what that investment is and how that aligns and is attributable to that specific decision that hopefully will lead to more revenue.
So in the two cases that you did with these two different pharmaceutical companies that will go unnamed, you focused in on a specific project or task at hand and not at the whole department itself.
That's correct. Although we did need to look at the overall costs of the department to be able to put in the overheads and things like that, and be able to put some of the fixed costs in there. But basically, we are looking at specifically the cost of a project which would lead to a decision. So the two projects that we have, one is a segmentation study, and the other is a go study to be able to, or to make a decision on whether we want to launch a product to go after a handful of different and new indications for a cancer drug.
Do you know why these two particular companies wanted an ROI on these two research efforts investigated?
Well, in these two specifically, they were really brought out as good case studies. Generally, it was not that they wanted specifically on these two actual studies. What they wanted to do was to be able to say, well, what is the methodology? How can we actually determine whether market research provides a positive or a negative ROI? And then secondly, let's use these as case studies. And thirdly, for the PMRG then, is to use these case studies as training examples to be able to say, if you are going to do a segmentation study, here is how you would be able to justify the ROI of that specific type of segmentation study versus the new indicators or versus some other type of study.
Now, pharmaceutical companies are particularly difficult to do a study about as well, aren't they?
Well, they certainly are. With a let's say a consumer packaged goods company, the returns that you get are probably a lot faster. With a pharmaceutical company, it may be years over the lifetime of the drug that you would actually see returns and actually see then what the impact is of the specific decision that you were supporting through that market research. So in that respect, the studies are more projections of what the incremental revenue or decremental revenue might be and profit might be associated with that, to be able to say whether that research study has a positive ROI or not.
Now, the study results won't be out for a while yet, but can you say in general whether the ROI at the market research functions in these two cases are wildly different or much the same with all the other industries and other types of departments within companies that you've been studying, for 10 years?
Well, I would say, especially in pharma, where the revenues are as high as they are, that the ROI of market research is enormous, probably in the thousands, if not 10,000s in many cases. Now, for a smaller company, the difference is that the revenue impact of a specific decision is going to be much different. So if I'm a $10 million company and I'm doing market research, then that's going to have a much lower impact than if I'm working for a $10 billion drug. So in that respect, the ROI of market research in pharmaceuticals is going to be generally very, very high. Now, as things are changing and the pharmaceuticals is changing and you don't have blockbuster drugs anymore, the ROIs might come down from the 10,000s, let's say, down to the hundreds, but nevertheless, they're still huge. Now, when you compare that to the ROI of marketing investments, the ROI of marketing investments in major television campaigns, those are very, very small. Those are in the tens of percents and 20%, maybe 100%. And so very, very different than the tens of thousands that you have in the market, the ROI of market research.
Okay, so do you have expectations that this could open up a whole new area of ROI discovery and research for you and your company?
Yeah, absolutely. We think, especially as market research now is going through a major transition where it's going from being a more interview-based or online panel-based to being social media and potentially even outsourced to India, the market research functions and the projects that they are working with really do need to now justify their existences. And if you're a mid-tier brand and your revenues are maybe in the tens or maybe in the 100 million range or so, then the market research functions supporting those products and those companies are now under much more pressure to be able to show and validate their existence.
Okay. Guy promises to keep us updated on developments, so we're hoping to have him back on RBDR soon. Meanwhile, we encourage you to tell your friends and associates about what he has shared with us today and what he is up to. That's your Research Business Daily Report. We've been sponsored by Q-Oasis, a self-service marketing research solution for market research professionals. The only platform that is delivering industrial strength, easy to use, unrestricted survey building blocks, and for no cost. and it's powered by 22-year industry expert Socratic Technologies. Q-Oasis is without a doubt a substantive step up in DIY, but consider it as a much lower cost professional system that fits nicely with more tactical surveys. It can save you on spending with a consultant, and you can use those saved budgeting dollars on larger, more strategic initiatives. Q-Oasis automatically optimizes your research for desktop, tablet, or mobile devices. It supports complex logic control. It seamlessly integrates and immediately accesses dashboard quality results. And if you want to get even more up to date with what you can do today with research, Q-Oasis can add gamified functionality, it can implement drag and drop card sorts, and it can incorporate analytic components through the help of Socratic Technologies' crack staff. And remember, it's all free. So if you see and want to use the URL on the screen to my right, you can find out more for yourself about Q-Oasis. Have a great research day, and we will see you back here tomorrow.